Hey, tech besties, welcome and welcome back to K Talks Tech. I'm Kay, let's talk tech. So, all this discussion around the Nolan Wells case got me thinking about just how it is I approach analysis. And I'm going to share with you my secret sauce, okay? So, one of the things that I see over and over again is that people don't seem to have a repeatable process for doing analysis. And whether that analysis is for a new system, a major enhancement, a production support problem, doesn't really matter. You have to have a repeatable process that you use so that you have some sort of guidance for yourself. Earlier in my career, when I was a developer, I was on call too. And at that time, you had to get up and physically come in, okay? So I definitely wanted to have some things that I could direct the computer room to check or do that would resolve the problem without me having to come in. So from that, I started to develop ways to go about doing analysis. And one thing I see is that people will jump up and start trying to solve a problem before they've taken a moment to understand what the problem is. Are you looking at the problem or are you looking at a symptom of the problem? I've seen that happen quite a bit. Um, I had this kind of process in my head that I would go after, but I wasn't as consistent with it as I wanted to be. And then I learned Six Sigma. I'm such a nerd. When I learned Six Sigma, I felt like the heavens had opened up, a light shone down on me, and I heard angels singing, ah, this is how I go about doing my analysis. So if you're not familiar, Six Sigma is a analysis framework that says you should follow DMAIC: define, measure, analyze, improve, control, and then they updated it and put an L at the end for leverage, right? And so you always follow those steps in that order, but you can backtrack. And when you backtrack, you can skip steps backwards, but never skip steps forward. So, what I mean by that, you're going to define the problem so that you understand the problem as opposed to the symptom. The symptom is actually a measurement, but you also need measurement for what it's supposed to look like when it's fixed, right? And then that's when you start your analysis, when you have those things in hand. Let's say during your analysis you find something that hasn't been defined, so you could skip back to define, right? So you don't go back to measure, you go back to define, but when you move forward back to analysis, you do define, measure, and then analyze, right? So going forward, you don't skip steps. um, that's a process that works wonderfully. um, if you're not familiar with Six Sigma, um, it gives you not just process but a set of tools that you can use in helping you frame uh, in helping you capture the details and metrics and frame solutions. And I don't really care about the tools, I care about the repeatable, an analytical process. Let me say that again: repeatable analytical process, because that is what separates a great analyst from a mediocre one. And that's the truth. If you have a repeatable analytical process that works all the time, you'll be good. So after you measure, you analyze, and then you start improving, right? So you define, you see what the measurements are, you analyze what's happening, and only then do you start fixing something. Now, if you think about it, you've probably seen people not do things that way, and it might didn't go completely south, or maybe it did, but it certainly didn't get fixed as quickly as it could have if they followed the appropriate steps. After you go through the improvement, there's control. What is control? Control might be releasing the code. Control might be shutting down the project. Control might be the documentation. And then there's leverage, right? Now, leverage is at the end. Leverage is leaving information that can be used by others who may have a similar situation in the future. But if everybody does that, then you can actually look for leverage much earlier in the process, right? So that's my secret sauce on how I approach projects, and I even apply it to my life. Um, if I have an issue, I'm thinking DMAIC. If I'm at work and I'm running Agile, underneath that, I'm running DMAIC. If it's a waterfall project, underneath that, I'm running DMAIC. If it's some sort of hybrid, Kanban, Scrum, whatever it is, I'm always running DMAIC underneath it. That's my North Star, and it has really served me well. I am a Six Sigma green belt. The next level would be black belt. Being a Six Sigma black belt can be very lucrative, but it's hard to get because you need to be an apprentice under somebody, and it's kind of pricey. Um, if you ever have the opportunity, take it. Don't let it slide by. Even if it's something you're not that interested in, still pursue it because it's something that is never going to hurt you, and you can always use it in any field. All right, that's it. That's all I have for you. Tell me, what is your framework or methodology for anything that you do? What are the things that are guiding your work? Like, share, subscribe, and then come back again when we'll continue to talk tech. Bye.